This might sound ridiculous, but I survived a haunted Tesla. In the twilight of my ordinary life, acquiring a used Tesla seemed like a gateway to an exhilarating future. Tales of its subtle intelligence and almost spectral autonomy had reached me, yet I never imagined those whispers would morph into a chilling reality. The car, with its sleek form and enigmatic charm, appeared to pulsate with its own life, its sensors and cameras acting as ever-watchful eyes. Driving home, the glow from the dashboard cast ghostly shadows inside, while outside, the road was engulfed by the approaching darkness. The Tesla's autopilot, a marvel of engineering, promised safety and simplicity. However, activating it sent a shiver down my spine, a primal caution I dismissed as novelty nerves. As I cruised along the deserted highway, the headlights cut through the night, briefly illuminating the dense woods beside the road. It was in this solitude that I first spotted an anomaly on the rearview camera, a fleeting shadow, too ephemeral to be real, yet too distinct for mere imagination. I chuckled it off as a trick of the light, yet a seed of disquiet had been sown. The Tesla, silent and electric, whisked me deeper into the night, towards a destiny tied to its mysterious past. Unbeknownst to me, this journey was not merely a drive, but a path skirting the edges of the spectral realm, where technology and the supernatural melded into indistinction. As weeks passed, the novelty of the Tesla faded, replaced by a veneer of normalcy. Yet beneath this facade, strange quirks surfaced, initially subtle, like dark whispers. The car's sensors occasionally trembled with unexplained warnings, signaling invisible hazards on the deserted roads I traveled. Night drives transformed into experiences of creeping anxiety. The rearview camera, my link to the world behind, sporadically captured shadows that lurked just out of clear view. These ghostly apparitions, always transient and elusive, seemed to mock my rational mind. Friends laughed off my concerns, their doubt reinforcing my sense of isolation. One evening, as the sky bled red at sunset, my journey home veered into the sinister. The Tesla, usually a beacon of predictability, started acting erratically. The dashboard erupted in a frenzy of alerts, sensors screeching in a discordant chorus as if responding to an unseen storm. My pulse quickened, I struggled to stay calm, convincing myself it was just a technical glitch. The zenith of this eerie symphony was a moment etched in terror. A figure, clear and unmistakable, materialized on the camera display, standing motionless on the road ahead. I braked hard, the car screeching to a stop, but when I looked directly, only the empty, headlight-illuminated road greeted me. Trembling, I stepped out, seeking any sign of life or logic, but found only the cold, whispering wind. That night, sleep eluded me. The vision of the figure haunted my dreams, blurring the boundaries between reality and nightmare. The Tesla, once a symbol of the future, had become an omen of hidden darkness, its advanced technology a conduit to an unseen, spectral realm. Compelled by a mix of fear and curiosity, I delved into the Tesla's past, unearthing its involvement in a tragic accident on the same stretch of road where the strange occurrences peaked. The previous owner, a figure shrouded in mystery, had died under enigmatic circumstances, the car found deserted, with only a weathered family photograph left behind. This revelation cast the car's peculiar behavior in a new light. It was more than a mere vehicle, it bore the scars of its former life, a life abruptly ended on a road that now seemed a threshold between life and death. Despite my rational efforts, the experiences spiraled into the realm of the inexplicable. One night, my search for answers darkened. Reviewing the Tesla's onboard recordings, I found an anomaly, a video segment recorded during the car's supposed downtime. The grainy footage revealed the interior illuminated by the dashboard's eerie glow. For minutes, nothing. Then, suddenly, a figure materialized in the driver's seat, its outline faint yet unmistakably human. This discovery shattered my skepticism. Was the Tesla just a car, or had it become a vessel haunted by the spirit of its previous owner? The idea was outlandish, yet the accumulating evidence was increasingly persuasive. My research into the paranormal, once a subject of my disdain, now punctuated my nights. The line between reality and the shadows in my periphery thinned as I delved deeper into the abyss, seeking a truth as elusive as the apparitions that haunted me. As the divide between day and night blurred, my obsession grew. The Tesla, once a source of pride, now felt like an intruder in my life, its presence a constant reminder of the unknown. The sensation of being watched, of being followed, became a persistent shadow, trailing my every step, infecting my sanctuary with an intangible menace. The line between my mind and the external world was fraying, the seeds of paranoia sprouting into an overgrown maze from which there seemed no escape. As the boundary between the natural and the supernatural grew increasingly blurred, my world became a landscape of half-seen shadows and whispered threats. The Tesla, once a marvel of technology, now seemed an entity with motives beyond comprehension. Each drive became a journey into uncertainty, each destination less certain. The second discovery struck on a rain-soaked evening, the sky a vault of brooding clouds. The Tesla's screen flickered unexpectedly, displaying a navigation route I hadn't entered, tracing a path to the site of the accident that had claimed its previous owner. Compelled by a mixture of fear and fascination, I followed the route, the familiar roads now foreign in the twilight mist. Arriving at the scene, the car stopped of its own accord, the engines silencing with an ominous finality. The air turned cold, breath visible in the harsh light of the dashboard. Then, the car's display lit up with a cascade of images, rapid and disorienting, a life flashing before my eyes, but not my own. Scenes from the previous owner's life intertwined with violent, flashing images of the accident, blurred yet visceral. Amidst this chaos, a figure appeared outside the car, solid and undeniable, its presence an anachronism against the modernity of the Tesla's design. The figure of the previous owner, I realized with a heart-stopping jolt, stood by the roadside, his gaze piercing through the rain-streaked windows, his expression one of sorrow and accusation. I could not move, could not think, the line between the car and the ghostly figure blurred, as if both were manifestations of the same haunted reality. The Tesla systems sparked to life, screens and sensors alight with cryptic data, as if communicating with the apparition. The air was thick with the electric charge of unnatural energies, the barrier between life and death thinning to a gossamer veil. In that moment, the grim truth dawned on me. The car was not just a vehicle, it was a medium, a bridge between realms, carrying the unresolved grief and rage of its previous owner. The accident was no mere event, it was a nexus of tragedy, binding the spirit to the machine in a perpetual echo of that fateful night. The encounter left me with a chilling certainty. The Tesla and its spectral inhabitant were inseparably intertwined, its sensors and circuits entangled with a restless soul. My role in this saga was not as master and machine, but as an unwitting participant in a spectral drama that transcended life and technology, a drama that was far from over. In the dead of night, under a crescent moon, the true horror of my situation unfurled. The Tesla, now a chariot bound to the ethereal, became a vessel of terror on the desolate highway. The journey started as any other, but soon, the car began to accelerate, its systems responding to an unseen conductor's frenzied tempo. The dashboard became a theater of madness, flashing erratically, displaying cryptic symbols and nonsensical data. My attempts to regain control were futile. The steering wheel resisted with the obstinacy of a possessed entity, turning wildly as if in the grip of the previous owner's spirit. The landscape outside blurred into a maelstrom of darkness and fleeting light, trees bending and twisting like tortured souls in the wind. Adrenaline surged as the car veered off the main road, taking a forgotten path that twisted through the woods like a serpent's back. The headlights cut through the darkness, revealing glimpses of shadowy figures that flitted between the trees, their forms distorted and fleeting, as if mocking my mortal fear. My heart pounded, a syncopated rhythm with the car's frenetic pace, as it navigated the treacherous path with unholy precision. The sensation was not just of speed but of falling, plummeting into a void where reality and nightmare merged. The air was thick with the scent of impending doom, the electric hum of the Tesla now a sinister whisper in the night. Then, at the climax of this nocturnal ballet, the car halted abruptly at the edge of a cliff overlooked in the daytime but a precipice in the night. The sudden stop drew me forward, the seatbelt biting into my flesh, a stark reminder of the thin line between life and death. For a moment, everything was still, the only sound my ragged breathing and the ticking of cooling electronics. Outside, the abyss yawned, a chasm hungry for the car and its occupants. The Tesla, teetering on the brink, seemed to contemplate the void, a metal beast poised between the realms of the living and the dead. In that suspended moment, I was acutely aware of the spectral presence, an icy touch that grazed my consciousness, whispering of unfinished business and eternal unrest. The car, a nexus of past tragedy and present fear, had brought me to the threshold of the unknown, challenging the very essence of my reality. The night's terror had barely ebbed when the world around me began to unravel further, dragging me deeper into its enigmatic clutches. My connection with the Tesla, once a mere function of ownership, now seemed like a cosmic entanglement, destined and doomed. The boundaries of logic and reason started to blur, as if the fabric of my reality was fraying at the edges. Days melded into nights, each period marked by strange occurrences that defied explanation. Objects in my home moved of their own accord, shadows lingered longer than they should, and the cold spots, they were everywhere, sudden and shocking. But it was the voices that unnerved me the most, whispers that echoed through the halls, murmurs of a life once lived, and a life taken too soon. In my desperate search for answers, I scoured through old newspaper archives and online databases, unearthing a history tainted with tragedy and sorrow. The road where the Tesla had nearly met its demise was known for accidents, a stretch of asphalt painted with the echoes of loss and regret. But one incident stood out, mirroring the fate of my car's previous owner, a family, shattered in an instant, their story ending on that very road. As I pieced together the fragments of this tragic puzzle, the reality of my situation became terrifyingly clear. The Tesla was not merely haunted by its last owner, but was a beacon for the restless spirits tied to that cursed stretch of road. My car, with its advanced technology, had become a conduit, a bridge between the living and the dead, drawing the lost souls to itself and to me. Each revelation peeled back layers of a hidden truth, a narrative steeped in loss and bound by spectral chains. The more I uncovered, the more the supernatural realm bled into my own, the distinction between them growing ever more tenuous. My existence had become a waking nightmare, haunted not by the dead, but by their unrelenting sorrow and unquenched desire for closure or vengeance. As the veil between worlds thinned, the occurrences escalated in intensity and frequency. The air around me thrummed with unseen energy, a charge that prickled the skin and raised the hairs on the back of my neck. The Tesla, once an object of desire and pride, now stood as a monument to the past, a keeper of secrets that I was, perhaps fatefully, destined to unravel. In the eerie silence that followed the car's abrupt halt at the cliff's edge, a flood of unsolicited memories invaded my mind, not my own, but those of the previous owner, conveyed through the car's interface like a morbid confession. The images and emotions were raw and unfiltered, painting a story of guilt, obsession, and a fateful mistake that tied the spirit to the Tesla. The car's display flickered to life, projecting fragmented scenes of a life once lived, moments of joy overshadowed by a growing darkness, a descent into madness driven by loss and regret. The spectral figure I had seen was not just a trapped soul, but a tormented conscience, reliving its tragic end through the vehicle of its untimely demise. As the narrative unfolded, the Tesla transformed before my eyes, from a machine of metal and wire to a living repository of human folly and despair. The haunting was not a mere echo of the past, it was a replay, a looped recording of a life ending in tragedy, with the car as its unwilling stage. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. The car didn't just carry the imprint of its previous owner, it was an active participant in a cycle of reenactment, a purgatory on wheels, doomed to replay the final, tragic act of its last journey. The accident that had claimed the life of its owner wasn't an ending, but a beginning, a moment frozen in time, perpetually revisited. This epiphany was more than a revelation, it was a confrontation with a reality I had never imagined possible, where technology and spirit intertwined in a macabre dance of fate and free will. The Tesla, with its advanced sensors and artificial intelligence, had become a conduit for a restless soul seeking redemption or perhaps revenge. The chill of understanding seeped into my bones as I sat in the driver's seat, the car perched precariously on the cliff's edge, a symbol of the fine line between life and death, past and present, reality and the supernatural. The haunting had transcended the physical confines of the vehicle, enveloping me in its tragic narrative, binding my fate to the ghostly legacy of the Tesla's previous owner. After the harrowing incident at the cliff's edge, where reality teetered on the brink of the abyss, my world was irrevocably altered. The Tesla, once an object of my desire, had become a source of unspeakable dread, a constant reminder of the night when the veil between the living and the dead had thinned to a whisper. In the days that followed, I sought solace in the daylight, avoiding the shadows and the haunting glow of the Tesla's console. Yet, the specter of that night lingered, its icy fingers clutching at the edges of my sanity. My sleep was fractured by nightmares, vivid reenactments of the car's dash toward oblivion, each dream ending with a jolting halt at the precipice. Driven by a desperate need for answers, I took the Tesla to a mechanic, hoping to find a rational explanation, a fault in its wiring or a glitch in its system that could account for the madness. But the car, under the mechanic's scrutiny, revealed no such defects. Its systems operated flawlessly, its diagnostics clean, a perfect machine in the eyes of logic and science. The mechanic, with a skeptic smirk, suggested stress or fatigue might be clouding my judgment, implying the ghosts I saw were born of my imagination, not the car's electronics. His words, meant to reassure, only deepened my sense of isolation, painting me as an unreliable narrator of my own experience. Leaving the shop, the Tesla felt like a prison of polished metal and silent judgments, its screens and sensors now mocking me with their stoic normalcy. The drive home was a journey through a landscape that had lost its familiarity, every turn and landmark tainted by the memory of unseen apparitions and the car's unexplained betrayals. In this aftermath, my life began to unravel, thread by thread, the fabric of my reality torn by the claws of doubt and fear. The divide between the known and the unknown, once clear and navigable, had become a treacherous chasm, bridged only by the haunted steel and circuitry of the Tesla, which sat in my garage like a dormant beast, biding its time. The relentless pursuit of normalcy became a battle I waged not just with the world, but within the recesses of my own mind. The Tesla, an inert behemoth in my garage, was like a sealed crypt, harboring secrets too dark for daylight. Its presence, once a beacon of futuristic promise, now cast long shadows, distorting the fabric of my daily life. Whispers in the night, soft disturbances in the stillness of my home, began to fracture the remnants of my peace. Objects seemed to move of their own accord, shadows coalesced into figures that vanished when looked upon directly, and the air thrummed with the charge of unseen energies. The barrier between my mind and the external world, already thin and tattered, was eroding, each unexplained phenomenon a wave crashing against the weakening shore of my sanity. In this melangetic haze, the line between the car's technology and the supernatural became indistinguishable. I started to perceive the Tesla not merely as a haunted object, but as a sentient entity, a conduit for forces beyond the veil, reaching out through its sophisticated systems to communicate, to manipulate, to haunt. The once clear boundaries of day and night, reality and nightmare, blurred into a continuous twilight of confusion and fear. My own reflection became a stranger, eyes haunted by the ghostly interplay of past and present, reality and illusion. Friends and family grew distant, their concern tinged with the unspoken judgment of my mental state, their words and actions seemingly orchestrated by a malevolent script, further isolating me in a world that no longer obeyed the laws of nature or logic. In this psychological maelstrom, the Tesla's silent form was a constant sentinel, its cameras and sensors the eyes through which unseen watchers observed, its autonomous capabilities a threat of impending chaos. The very walls of my home seemed to pulse with a hidden life, the line between technology and the paranormal irrevocably blurred, each echoing the other's sinister whisper, creating a symphony of dread that played on the strings of my unraveling mind. In the end, I made the harrowing decision to sever my ties with the Tesla, selling it to a stranger whose eagerness mirrored my own from what felt like another lifetime. Watching it drive away, I felt a mix of relief and inexplicable loss, as if parting with a piece of my own haunted soul. The days that followed were a quiet epilogue to the madness, a tentative step back into a world that had once felt secure and predictable. Yet, the shadows of my experience lingered, a subtle distortion in the corner of my vision, a chill whisper in the silence of the night. The line between the known and the unknowable had been irrevocably drawn in my mind, a reminder of the journey I had taken and the price of my curiosity. But the story, it seems, did not end with the sale of the car. Occasionally, in the dead of night, I catch glimpses of a familiar silhouette on the street outside, the unmistakable outline of the Tesla, pausing as if in contemplation before slipping away into the darkness. Whether real or a figment of my fractured psyche, it serves as a chilling reminder of the past. So, to you, dear listener, I offer this tale not as a mere recounting of events, but as a warning. In our quest for progress and mastery over the natural world, we may inadvertently invite the unnatural into our lives. The allure of technology, with its promise of control and convenience, can sometimes blind us to the more arcane forces that thread through our existence, forces that defy logic and reason. Beware the whisper of autonomy, for within the heart of our creations lies secrets and potentials we may not fully comprehend. Respect the boundary between the human and the technological, for when that boundary is crossed, we may find ourselves on a path from which there is no return, haunted not by the ghosts of the past, but by the specters of our own making.